Hello and welcome to our latest edition of the Business Spotlight interview. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Ciaran Sheehan, Managing Partner of Clarendon Executive here in Belfast. Hello Ciaran, how are you today?
I'm very good, Richard, and yourself?
Yeah, doing great, thanks. Delighted to have you on today. Look, why don't you start by sharing with us who you are, what you do, and how long you've been doing it for?
Okay, no problem. Well, first of all, thanks for your time today. Nice to see you in that lovely backdrop of the Merchant Hotel in Belfast. No better place to do a podcast from. So my name is Ciaran Sheehan. I'm probably known more for being a headhunter in Northern Ireland. I own a company called Clarendon Executive that I set up in around 2000 or so. So it's running 23 years. Kind of recognised as being a market leader, but a really good business in terms of the appointments that we make. We appoint senior leaders across many of Northern Ireland's most progressive companies and also a number of critical public sector appointments. I've also a few other businesses. I'm randomly owner of a business in Donegal, which is a holiday accommodation business, which is very different from executive search. I also, over the years, had a fairly large nursing home group as well, but I'm kind of out of that now. And more recently, been involved in some new things. So I'm involved with a number of other guys, good friends of mine, in establishing a new Irish whiskey brand, which we're going to launch in America early 2024.
Sounds good.
Sticking with America, I also, for many years, I was chair of Young Enterprise Northern Ireland, so a very passionate supporter of young people getting into business. And I'm currently looking after a foundation in America, which has been set up to sort of raise money to put back into Northern Ireland schools to help young people get into entrepreneurship. So quite a variety of different things, all of which are quite enjoyable, I must say, at this moment.
Fantastic. No, that's great. So, who's your ideal customer then in these various settings that you're involved in?
Well, I guess they're all very different because they're all quite different businesses. So the ideal customer on the executive search side is a business owner or company directors who are really serious about getting good talent into the business. I think people realize that if you want to scale a company, particularly internationally, like they don't invest enough in how they recruit or assess or develop senior leaders. So I guess an ideal customer for us is a company with big ambitions, a good reputation, who is serious about adding to the senior team, whether it be a chief finance officer, a board member, a head of sales across Europe, whatever it might be. Our job is to go and find those people. On the holiday business, it's quite straightforward. You know, when you harker back to those holidays you had in Ireland when you were a kid, when there was no technology and things were simple, and you get out to the beaches and you were playing all day and so on. The authentic Irish holiday experience is what we offer at Clarendon Mill in Donegal. And the customers there are people who don't expect five-star luxury, but actually want a really nice experience, which is kind of authentic and a good simple holiday. You know, the foundation in America, the ideal client, their ideal customer, is somebody who's made their money or made their way in the world, but still values putting something back into Northern Ireland and has the resources to do that. Yes. And a lot of people I come across in America have been very successful, still have that sort of hankering for home or to do something good, may not see themselves as philanthropists, but are quite happy to invest 10 or 15 or $20,000 a year that they know will go back into helping transform the lives of young people. So I guess a very range of customer interest there.
Yeah, great diversity there, and excellent to hear that. Yeah, like we were talking earlier, before we started hitting the recording button, those young days on the beaches of Ireland and the cold water swimming and stuff like that there, you can't beat it. And I presume with the holiday business you have a total international reach with that.
We actually have. Last weekend, for example, we had a group of Irish Americans who were across. They were doing a health and well-being essentially trip for 10 days. A lot of them hadn't been to Ireland at all. They were doing like a course in-house sort of session over several days, bringing in guest speakers. They couldn't believe the fact that we've probably the world's nicest beaches in Ireland within 5 minutes drive of where we are. They couldn't believe the Irish hospitality, the welcome they get in local bars or places. They can't get over the scenery. You know, they're just amazing pieces. But I guess it's just the fact that it's not that they were particularly Irish American. They're just Americans who want to experience a very different way of life, and they found that there. The weekend before that, we had a group of Thai people, people from Thailand, who were all staying in motorhomes of all things, and had a wonderful time. We have musicians come from all over. We have families who come from north and south. You know, I suppose a lot of people who go to Donegal and Dunfanning remember it as kids, and then as they've grown up and maybe got a house or something there, they still hanker back to holidaying as they were as kids, and we can provide that.
Yeah, fantastic. It's great to hear. So, what inspired you to start your own business?
I guess a number of things. I've always been sort of interested in business owners and business leaders from an early age, and I realized that, you know, maybe my forte or my plan in life was never to become to work for, say, a large bank or a large corporate or something like that. I always kind of liked small businesses. I came from a business where my mother and father were both entrepreneurial, and you kind of get that sense, you know, having a small business, employing people locally, growing a business, doing something really well if you can. You know, it always kind of intrigued or sort of struck a chord with me. When I started with Clarendon Executive, initially I worked for PA Consulting, a global consulting firm, and I kind of cut my teeth there.
Yes.
But ultimately, when you're in Northern Ireland recruiting for, you know, great local companies, it doesn't matter too much that you're a global brand or a global consultancy. They want to know the person that they can deal with, and they want to know that you can help them and understand their business at that point in time in Northern Ireland. So there's a logic of thinking actually you can grow a business from here, and that became quite an interesting challenge. I think lastly within that, you know, there are a tremendous number of people who have left Northern Ireland and gone through great things, who often want to come back. Yeah. And very early on, Clarendon Executive became realised there's a niche to tap into the Irish diaspora, and we can bring talent back for many jobs that are, so our big modus operandi or our big area of research are people who are not necessarily living in Northern Ireland, but have a connection to Northern Ireland, whether through family or marital status or whatever, and would love to come back. And thankfully, over the last sort of 7 to 10 years, these high-paying jobs in tech and fintech in a range of areas in manufacturing, advanced manufacturing, these jobs are here, and people can go back and build their careers with companies that actually do have global ambition.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's excellent. I know when I was growing up, and I guess I was one of them, did my degree in a different country than Northern Ireland. There was what they called the huge brain drain. But I've seen over the last number of years, the number of people that are coming back home, as it were. And thankfully now we do have the opportunities for them. So you do play a crucial part in that. So
yeah, and you know
that's
what?
great.
It's actually quite good fun as well, because I'm very fortunate in the fact I get to meet really interesting people. I spend, my wife says, all you do is spend your day talking to people, and I kind of do at one level. But you meet people who, you know, have built really amazing careers, and actually, I think this connection back to, you know, Northern Ireland or the north of Ireland, and or even a part of Ireland, this idea that you can come back and actually still build your career. It used to be, Richard, that people came back and thought they had to take a salary cut, they had to take a lesser step down in their career, but that's not the case. And I think particularly since COVID, people can work from here, enjoy the wonderful lifestyle that we have, enjoy the wonderful cities that we have, and still get paid commensurate salaries that are commensurate with other European cities, and have the benefit of living in this fantastic place.
Yeah, no, you couldn't say it better, Ciaran. It's great. So what's been your biggest learning since you've been a business owner?
Well, I think well, there's lots of things. You know, being a business owner isn't an easy ride. A lot of people think, oh, well, you're great, you've got your own business. It's not easy, you know. And in the early stages, you really your return on your investment, your time is never really that good. You have to kind of apply yourself morning, noon, and night to growing a business. Yeah. I guess what I've learned, and maybe not soon enough, is that getting good people around you is the critical thing. In the early stages of business, I kind of ran things myself. With Clarendon, I'm very fortunate to have two very good partners who join me and others who join our team. And actually, them becoming part of a business helps everybody. So I think there's something around that. Also, I guess, I've had a business feeling with a care home business. I got into business with probably people who didn't share the values or the behaviours that I felt. And very often you can be driven by the wrong things. You can be driven for, the ego of growth and all those sort of things. But actually, the harsh reality of business is it can come crashing down. If a business has not got a good product, is sufficiently well funded, doesn't have a market opportunity, and doesn't have all the people driving it the same way.
Yeah, excellent. So I guess in summary, those are also, as well as some of your biggest learnings, would those have been some of the biggest challenges you faced when you were starting out, or are there other challenges that you'd like to share?
I think a lot of people have found many challenges, and I would be lucky enough to come across a lot of business owners, a lot of company directors and others who have come through so many challenges. So in my generation of business, we came through 2000, 2007, 8, 9, probably the biggest property crash that many of us would ever have known. A lot of companies, while successful, business owners had sidelines around property. So that ultimately brought down a lot of really good businesses, for no other reason than the fact that the banks closed up shop. The COVID challenge has been huge for companies. They've had to essentially pivot into an entire different way of working. The hospitality sector that I'm engaged in now, I mean, there are lots of, unfortunately, even in the city centre of Belfast, which is some of the best restaurants, for a city of its size in Europe. So a lot of those restaurants are struggling. Business owners are absolutely struggling. There's many challenges across many sectors, and I think, I see some of our clients in voluntary organisations and community organisations and private sector enterprises. They're all at the mercy of government policy or lack of government policy and lack of government delivery. And, it's not easy. However, the converse of that is there are businesses that are agile and can shift and can be responsive, are doing much better than maybe they deserve to be. So there's huge opportunities. So what does that mean? In many cases, you kind of have to keep learning from the issues of the past, learning from the market, learning from mistakes made. And I think that's the crucial thing for most people in business, that if you don't win, you lose naturally. And I would suggest that people, the good people I see in business have a win-learn mentality. So if you don't win, what have you learned from that, or how can you apply it to win the next time? And I think that is something that many good entrepreneurs have, this sort of drive that drives them on, that failure is not, something to become to dwell upon or procrastinate over. Failure is, I'm not making that mistake again. And I think that's something that many of us could do with Ciaran a little bit more.
Yeah, excellent. Really good sharings, Ciaran. So do you have like a favorite quote or a saying that you would come back to again and again?
I do, and it's a very simple one. It's the Gary Player one, which is he actually said that the more I practice, the luckier I get. But it's translated as the harder I work, the luckier I get. And that goes back to Gary Player in golf, a very well-known South African golfer. But he always was known for getting those wee balls just dropped at the right time or landed at the right time and so on. But people didn't see the effort and the hours he spent practicing and training. And I think that's the big thing. So that's something I've always said. The harder you work, the luckier you get. And I used to work very hard in recruitment in the early ages. I'm lucky enough to have a bit more work-life balance. But it's a thing that I see for many, many, many business owners or successful people. You have to put the shift in. There's not too many easy rides in life. You put the shift in, and people don't necessarily see what's involved behind the scenes. But working hard in the right way with the right people and the right product, you will get results. There's no doubt.
Excellent.
So I have another one as well, actually.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
I'm a Liverpool fan.
Well, nobody would hold that against you.
Oh, here, well, that's okay. I'm glad of that. But Bill Shankly had this famous quote, and he always said something along the lines of, "If you're in doubt, just put the ball in the net, and we'll discuss your options later." And I think there's something like that in business. you know
Yeah.
what, we'll work out what other options you have. We'll just put the ball in the net. And I think there's something around that, particularly people who are in roles around growing business. Don't procrastinate too much. Don't think about your options. You know what, just stick in the net, and we'll talk about it later.
Excellent. Yeah, totally. So what's been the most surprising aspect of owning a business, Ciaran?
Well, owning a business in somewhere like Northern Ireland, or just generally?
Or just in general?
I think that what has surprised me and what I've learned a lot from are other people in business. I think when you kind of think that your competitors are nearly like your enemy, you know, they're out to get you. They're out to sort of, you know, not help you or see you fail. And I guess what surprises me so much is that people want to see others doing well. You know, people want to see success.
Yeah.
And particularly since I got involved in Young Enterprise and other charitable organizations, that I've been so taken and enamored by the numbers of people who volunteer their time, often very discreetly, often behind the scenes, helping the next generation, being willing to lift the phone to somebody and help them, to deliver, willing to help people when they're in a bit of a struggle or a bit of a challenge. And I've seen that, and I think that is something that's brilliant about the Northern Ireland business community. There's nearly an open door to help. You know, people are happy to give you advice, and people are happy to support you. And I think everyone realizes that, you know, to build an economy here, you know, if all business are successful, all boats rise. And I think there's something very much in that thing. So I guess, you know, maybe I see a lot of it now. It might be a generational thing. It might be something that I'm at in my career. But my advice to younger people, particularly in businesses, don't be afraid to ask for advice. And don't, if you see someone out there who's doing well, you'll be surprised how positively they will engage with you, you know, in terms of perhaps empowering some knowledge or proper offering some assistance and so on. So maybe there's something around that, you know, I now kind of take it for granted that if I'm struggling with something, or I know someone else is struggling with something, there's always someone you can find to ask who will help and share their thinking, and also act as a role model for others. The hotel you're sitting in today is owned by a very well-known hospitality expert, Northern Ireland, Bill Woosley. And Bill, for years, unbeknown to too many people, has been into schools across deprived areas, impoverished areas, helping young people understand that he got to where he is today by starting in a low-level job and working. And he spends his time dedicating his life to inspiring young people to, you know, and giving them jobs and giving them a start in life. And there are many people like Bill and others in Northern Ireland who do that, and I think that's a really, really commendable thing.
Yeah, no, totally. And you know, you'll be aware, and the community with Action Coach here are aware that today we had a growth club here in the Merchant Hotel. Maybe 40-50 business owners that are all encouraging each other for the next 90-day sprint in their businesses. And it's just such a great thing to see, where leaders help others, you know. And it's great. So where do you see your business in the next 5 years?
It's hard to say. I'm not a big one for having a very long strategic plan or anything. Well, I hope Clarendon continues to be successful and grow, and maybe we might have another presence in another city or whatever else, and certainly will have grown our team. You know, Donegal, I just love that. I love that business. I just like to see many more people, you know, particularly from within Northern Ireland, experience and what, you know, Donegal is all about. The whiskey business, you know, I'm really hoping that we do really well in America. I think it's a great product and a great brand, and there's real demand for Irish whiskey in a way which is different from the sort of, you know, the cloth cap and peat fire type thing. There's an audience which is younger people, younger whiskey drinkers, cocktail drinkers, and so on, who really are starting to get, you know, the taste for good quality Irish whiskey. I'm hoping that's a very exciting thing for me, because it's really different than I'm going to be involved in, and I'm very lucky to be involved with two good business partners who really know an awful lot more about that stuff than I do. So that's very interesting. But I guess overall, like, I think my shift is going much towards the foundation that we have in America for Young Enterprise. I'd love that to be able to unlock lots more investment in the young people in Northern Ireland. I think that is something that, as I maybe start to wind down my full-time career, I'd like to replace my time with something like that, because I think there's something huge And I think there's something wonderful going on in the world around philanthropy and about people supporting others. And
Totally.
when you're talking to these very wealthy, Irish Americans, and they spend £30,000 at a table at a dinner, it's kind of hard to work out sometimes that actually, but when you tell them that £30,000 could help transform the lives of 300 young people in North Belfast, for example, and that would actually help maybe 15 or 20 or 30 of them get into entrepreneurship and maybe start with businesses and employ others, you can start to shift the dial a little bit around their thinking. There's only so many dinners you can go to if you're in New York or Boston or Chicago.
Exactly. So finally, as we wrap up, what would you say to anyone thinking of going into business? And I guess that ties in and dovetails nicely with that whole frontier and entrepreneurial thing that's going on there in America for folks back home here.
Yeah. Well, America's, and there's lots of flaws with the American economy, don't get me wrong, and the views of capitalism, I don't tend to agree with. But there's a spirit in America where you just get up and do it. You get stuck and you do it. I think you find here still a lot of procrastination. It kind of goes my head in at times when you talk to people and they say, oh, well, I have this great business idea and I was thinking of doing this, and 5 years later, they're still talking about doing it. Sometimes you just have to, if you think you have a good idea and you think there's a market for your product or your service or whatever it is you have, and you think there's enough people out there to pay for it, try to get stuck in, because, it's actually easy enough if you have a great business idea and a great product at the right time. Finding the finance is actually easier than you might imagine. You might need to bring in a business partner. You might need to make a case to the bank. You might need to look to invest in AI for support. You might need to look at private equity, but actually finding the money isn't the issue. It's getting an understanding of a product that can go places. And you'll find lots of support around the community to do that. So I guess, my thing would say, I would say to people, if you have an opportunity, even as a sideline, even without giving up your job, try it and test it. The principles of business apply across the board, whether you're trading on eBay, whether you're starting open up a shop or whatever it might be. It's the same principles. You don't have to invent the next Facebook. It can be an idea that can develop and grow. And I think once you get the bug of having your own business and being in charge of your own destiny, there's very little can beat it.
Fantastic. Brilliant sharing, Ciaran. Really good wisdom to share with all of our viewers. And again, just let me thank you for the time you've invested in the Business Spotlight today. Pleasure to have you, and wish you every success in all of your endeavors going forward.
Thank you, Richard. It's lovely chatting to you, and I would say the same to yourselves and the community that follow you. So thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
No problem. You're welcome. Thank you.